If we've learned anything from anime, it's that you should never underestimate how powerful an isekai main character can get. Rimuru Tempest went from being the lowest level monster to a demon lord, and later, a multi-dimensional god. With the end of Tensuro's light novel, Rimuru is now one of the most powerful characters in all of anime, and maybe even fiction itself. But how powerful is he really? We're gonna break down Rimuru's power, abilities, feats, and journey by the end of the series. Now, before Rimuru became a slime, he was a human in Japan named Satoru Mikami. Back then, Satoru was a 37-year-old office worker with no magic powers, other than the ability to spill his white gravy all over his bathroom during incognito hours. A gooner whose browser history was so cursed that in his final moments, he asked his coworker to throw his laptop into a volcano to hide his secrets. Funny enough, it's in that scene that Satoru set out the groundwork for his transformation into a slime. He was stabbed by an unknown attacker while trying to protect his colleague. Satoru was in so much pain that when the system appeared to isekai him, the first thing he wished for was pain nullification to reduce his agony. Next, he asked for a blood-free body, because he'd already spilled buckets of the stuff and was in the midst of bleeding out. He wished for cold resistance because his body was already turning cold. But this fused with heat resistance to create a new buff called thermal fluctuation resistance. This skill basically makes him invulnerable to the effects of extreme temperatures, whether it be intense heat or cold. And finally, to ensure that he never got brutally injured again, he wished for stab resistance and the power to nullify physical attacks. The system of the world combined all these skills and wishes into a single physical form. And that's how Satoru was reincarnated into this fantasy world as a slime. Across media, people see slimes and assume that they're the lowest level monsters that don't amount to much besides a bit of experience points. But in this series, Rimuru proved that a slime can evolve into a powerful life form and gain countless amazing abilities. Being a slime alone gave Rimuru a natural advantage, especially in his exploration of this unfamiliar world. In this form, he has a gelatinous body that could easily stretch, move around, fit into tight spaces, and even regenerate itself. As a being that survives on just magicules alone, his identical cells perform every necessary bodily function, so he never has to eat, sleep, or even breathe, and his body is naturally efficient at managing energy. Yet these abilities aren't what make Rimuru truly special. He actually spawned in with 2 broken unique skills, which helped him properly navigate the world and level up. The first of which is the Great Sage. This ability allows him to speak directly to the voice of the world like it's an AI chatbot. It's like having Grok or ChatGPT living in your head. This ability is overpowered since the Great Sage basically oversees the operation of the entire universe. In addition to giving Rimuru all the information he needs, the Great Sage allows Rimuru to use all of his skills at their highest efficiency, and even combine similar skills to create advanced skills. An early example of this was when the Great Sage combined Rimuru's Water Blade skill with his Water Current Control to create an advanced skill called Water Manipulation. What's even crazier is that the Great Sage can operate in autopilot mode without Rimuru activating it. So yeah, Rimuru basically has a god-tier version of Jarvis to work with and guide him. The second unique skill was Predator, and this ability was the main catalyst behind his evolution. One thing slimes are known for is their ability to absorb things, but Rimuru's version of this, Predator, took things to a whole new level. This ability allows Rimuru to take in any form of matter, skill, or magic, and break it down into its basic elements. It basically enabled Rimuru to absorb any creature or item and analyze them to gain their skills. So Rimuru could stockpile skills and gain an unlimited amount of abilities just by devouring his targets. But he doesn't just gain their abilities. If Rimuru consumes an inanimate object like a sword, crystal, or an iPhone, these items would be analyzed in his body, and he'd become capable of reproducing them at will. If the absorbed target is a magic attack, then analyzing it successfully would enable him to learn how to cast a spell himself. This ability is called Mimicry, and he's used it to replicate several items and spells throughout the series. As an ability, mimicry is most useful when Rimuru consumes living creatures. After absorbing them using Predator and analyzing them, Rimuru not only gains their skills, he also has the ability to transform his body into these creatures. On their own, slimes aren't exactly intimidating, but using mimicry, he can transform into whatever terrifying creatures he's defeated, and this gives him an edge in his battles. When he consumed the giant centipede, he gained its paralysis breath ability, but also became able to transform into it using mimicry. In a similar way, he can use the steel thread skill he gained from consuming the black spider, as well as the sonic waves ability from the black bat. He can also transform into both these creatures whenever he wants through analysis. Although, if the system concludes that what Rimuru has absorbed is harmful or unnecessary, it's broken down, neutralized, and stored in his body as magical energy. Mimicry is one of Rimuru's most useful skills, as it's what eventually allowed him to gain a human form, but we'll get into that a bit later. One very important thing to note here is that even though I've been calling him Rimuru so far, he doesn't have that name at this point in the story. But this is very normal in the world of Tensura because most monsters are born nameless. Being named in this universe is a huge accomplishment, as it can make a creature much more powerful depending on the level of magic energy the name giver uses. So at this point, Rimuru doesn't have a name or the ability to name people. But everything changes when he meets a primordial dragon named Veldora. In this world, primordial dragons, or true dragons, are the ultimate beings and the most powerful in existence. The creator of the world, Veldanava, is literally the oldest true dragon, and he is unbelievably powerful. As such, the true dragons are the most feared species of them all. The storm dragon, Veldora, is the fourth true dragon and the youngest of them all. But that does not make him weak in any way. You'd imagine that a slime would get treated like bubblegum when he meets such an overpowered entity. But Veldora actually ended up being pretty chill. He revealed that he's been trapped in an inescapable and infinitely vast space called the Infinity Prison for centuries. So he got Gojo'd before Gojo. Hearing this, the slime becomes his new bestie and spends hours bonding with him. As a symbol of their new friendship, Veldora grants him the name Rimuru, and Rimuru gives them the last name, Tempest. Just by gaining a name, Rimuru becomes significantly more powerful, as his magical levels rise exponentially. He decides to consume the Infinity Prison that trapped Veldora so that he can finally be free. But unfortunately, the process fails. The Great Sage informs Rimuru that it is way above his pay grade. This is due to the fact that it would take about a century for his Predator skill to fully digest the Infinity Prison. Now I want you to think about how absurd that is. It would take Rimuru 100 years to outpace infinity. The fact that he could do that if he wanted to at this level is absurd. But with that being the case, Veldora gives Rimuru consent to absorb the Infinity Prison with him inside it. So Rimuru uses Predator to swallow them into his vast stomach dimension. This ends up being a win-win situation for both Rimuru and Veldora. In Veldora's case, he can finally experience the outside world through Rimuru's memories, and pass time while the Infinity Prison is being analyzed. He could share Rimuru's experiences like a Netflix family plan. And the benefits that Rimuru gained from storing Veldora in his stomach were game-changing. He received a massive upgrade in magical level and became able to use Veldora's Black Lightning skill. But the most useful ability he gained from this is the power to name other creatures, as being named helps creatures evolve just like it did for Rimuru. And this ability came in handy almost immediately after Rimuru gained it. After 3 weeks of exploring the cave, Rimuru meets a clan of goblins who are being attacked by direwolves. Rimuru knows that he has to do something because the reason the attacks are happening is because Veldora is no longer around to keep the monsters at bay with his terrifying aura. To help them, he decides to become the leader of the goblin clan. Rimuru then destroys the leader of the direwolves, and this makes all the other direwolves bend the knee to him. So at this point, Rimuru has become the leader of 2 monster races, the goblins and the direwolves. But he could hardly order them around without proper names, right? So he puts his new ability to good use by naming all the monsters. But even that's not so simple, because naming creatures takes a whole lot of magic power. So at this point, Rimuru would pass out after naming a few and recover every 3 days. Fortunately, the naming is effective, as the goblins evolved into a larger and more refined species called hobgoblins. The direwolves evolved as well into a bigger and cooler form called Tempest Wolves. The son of the old direwolf leader was named Ranga, and he became Rimuru's loyal companion. Since he now has 2 advanced species under his command, Rimuru takes the next logical step, which is to build a town for them to live in harmony. And this ends up causing a lot more chaos in the future. After Rimuru and his minions have built up their settlement to a significant level, 3 adventurers from the kingdom of Bluemund were sent to investigate Veldora's mysterious disappearance from the forest. On their way, they met a masked lady named Shizu, who agreed to guide them there as a mentor. When they arrive, Rimuru finds out that Shizu was also isekai'd from Japan, and they quickly became friends. During their bonding, Shizu tells Rimuru her tragic backstory. Apparently, she was summoned during World War II by Demon Lord Leon. She got so burnt up that he forcibly infused her body with the greater fire elemental, Ifrit, to save her life. This ends up making her life much more difficult because she got weaker as she grew older, making it harder for her to control the elemental. Unfortunately, Ifrit ends up taking over her body and releasing catastrophic flame magic that threatens to destroy the city that Rimuru just built. So like any great leader would, Rimuru steps up to face him. During their fight, Ifrit traps Rimuru inside a massive dome of intense flames. But Rimuru's thermal fluctuation resistance comes in handy as it completely nullifies the heat. Rimuru then devours Ifrit with his predator skill and successfully separates it from Shizu's body. By defeating Ifrit, Rimuru gained a ton of new abilities. The first of which is the extra skill, Flame Manipulation, which basically allows him to control flames however he wishes. An extension of this skill is Flame Transformation, which enables Rimuru to coat or transform parts of his body into pure fire or heat energy. Another very useful skill he gained from Ifrit is Body Double. As the name implies, it allows Rimuru to create clones of himself, and these clones are so advanced that he can share his consciousness with them, making them perfect for decoys or scouting. Also, Rimuru's thermal fluctuation resistance maxed out, making him absolutely immune to all forms of flame attacks. One very powerful technique he gained from Ifrit was Flame Circle. This was Ifrit's signature technique he used against Rimuru. It can basically trap people in a massive dome of flames and slowly incinerate them. And he also gained the ability to summon a replica of Ifrit to fight for him. So with all this, you'd assume that the victory over Ifrit brought only joy and happiness, right? Wrong. It actually wrote Shizu's death warrant. With her being separated from the only thing keeping her alive, she is now on her deathbed. But Shizu tells Rimuru to consume her so that she doesn't become one with the fantasy world when she dies, and he accepts her request. After consuming Shizu, Rimuru unlocks the ability Human Mimicry, which allows him to transform into a human. The human form looks like a younger version of Shizu with blue hair, but because he's a slime, he has no gender. This human form allows Rimuru to taste food, wear clothes, and speak with a normal vocal cord system. He also gained a huge boost in magical capacity from consuming 2 powerful beings, Shizu and Ifrit. Among the new skills he gained, one of the most useful ones is named Degenerate. This ability comprises 2 primary, opposing functions. The first one is Synthesis. This sub-skill allows Rimuru to take 2 or more completely distinct objects, skills, or organic substances and fuse them together to create a new one. The benefit of this in battle is that Rimuru can now create a high-tier skill by combining 2 low-tier skills. The second sub-skill is Separation. This function allows Rimuru to split anything from the body of his targets by simply touching them. This means that he could easily remove poisons, curses, linked entities, or other specific properties from anyone. Although, the main advantage of this human form is that it allowed Rimuru to finally blend in with the humans and form valuable connections. Soon after these events, a peaceful, hidden village of ogres in the Great Jura Forest is ambushed by a massive army of orcs. The orcs are strangely equipped with advanced human armor and weapons, and led by a mysterious mass Majin named Gelmud. The orcs annihilate the ogre village, and only 6 ogres, led by their young prince, survive the massacre. They flee into the forest to hide out and plot their revenge, but they eventually run into Rimuru. Since Rimuru is wearing a mask similar to Gelmud, they assume that he's working for the enemy and attack him. Rimuru easily counters their moves using his most basic skills, but he doesn't kill them because he realizes that they're acting out of grief. Eventually, they clear the air and Rimuru invites them to the village, where he feeds them and listens to the story of how their homeland fell. The ogres agree to join the village and fight against the orc army, so Rimuru gives them all names. The prince is named Benimaru, the bodyguard is named Shion, the princess is given the name Shuna, the shadow ninja of the group is named Shoei, the blacksmith is named Kurabe, and the old samurai is named Hakuro. Just like earlier, these names help the ogres evolve into a more powerful and human-like species called Kaijin. Since they've seen Rimuru's overwhelming power and kindness firsthand, they completely submit to Rimuru and eventually become his highest-ranking subordinates. The next stage in Rimuru's evolution is actually quite chaotic. As the orc army continue their rampage through the Great Jura Forest, the Dryad, Trainee, approached Rimuru to help face this disaster. This led him to create a grand coalition, which included all the monsters from the village and the Lizardmen tribe led by the Lizardmen chieftain. Soon, the battle begins in the treacherous marshlands, and the Kaijin squad go into battle against the orcs while Rimuru faces the Orc Lord one-on-one. As you'd expect against such forces, the Orc Lord and his army start getting overwhelmed, so the Orc Lord pulls a desperate move by devouring his own men, including Gelmud. This allows him to evolve into a Demon Lord level monster, called an Orc Disaster. The battle between Rimuru and the Orc Lord Geld intensifies, and becomes a competition to see which monster can devour the other. Geld's Starve skill versus Rimuru's Predator skill. After some talk no jutsu from Rimuru, Geld finally stops resisting and allows the slime to absorb him and end the war. As usual, Rimuru gains all of Geld's abilities. This includes Commander, which allows Rimuru to seamlessly control large armies under his banner. He also gained Rot Magic, which allows him to coat his weapons and attacks in corrosive energy that melts through armor and even the bodies of his opponents. A major skill he gained is the Orc Disaster's unique skill, Starved. This grants him an ability called Food Chain, which allows him to give skills to his subordinates and take any of their skills for himself. He's like all for one at this point. Starved can also consume things like Predator, so the Great Sage fused both of them using the Degenerate skill and formed a higher level consumption skill called Gluttony. This skill is way more powerful than both Predator and Starved, as it allows Rimuru to consume at a much higher speed and with greater storage capacity. Gluttony also upgrades the Food Chain skill to a form that allows Rimuru to share skills with his companions without losing them in the process. So now he's like all for one with a quirk awakening. Aside from all the skills, Rimuru also gains another race under his rule, as the orcs submit to him. They put their strength to good use by building homes and infrastructure for Rimuru's town. The main thing to note here is that by the end of this whole ordeal, Rimuru isn't just a regular slime anymore. By defeating and consuming the Orc Lord, he fulfilled the necessary requirements to evolve into a Demon Lord seed. This basically means that he's become a candidate to become a Demon Lord, and can germinate or transform into a true Demon Lord after fulfilling a following set of requirements. The true mastermind behind the Orc Lord attack was the Demon Lord Claymon, who sought to use the Orc Disaster as his personal battle slave. Since Rimuru thwarted his plans, the evil scumbag starts convincing other Demon Lords to go after Rimuru. But one of the demon lords, Milim, is actually a battle junkie seeking excitement. So when she senses Rimru's vast power, she zooms over to the Jura forest to test his strength. However, Rimru ends up swaying her with honey of all things, and they become besties. But Clayman isn't done with his evil schemes, as he revived an ancient, powerful monster called Charybdis to destroy Milim and the Jura forest. Rimru engages the monstrosity, but for the first time, he reaches a stalemate. All the strongest attacks from Rimru and his Kaijin comrades prove to be useless, because Charybdis had a mana jamming ability, which countered all high-tier magic attacks. It also had ultra high speed regeneration, which made it heal immediately after any effective attack. With no other choice left, Rimuru asks Milim for help, and she annihilates Charybdis using an overpowered attack called Drago Buster. Following this, Rimuru absorbs the core of Charybdis and gains several more powerful skills. One of them is gravity manipulation, which allows him to fly, levitate massive objects, and compress atmospheric pressure. He also gained the magic jamming skill, which cancels out magic formulas within a particular radius around him. After this, Rimuru goes on a little side quest to fulfill one of Shizu's wishes. He promised Shizu that he'd help her former students in the kingdom of Ingracia. These kids are dying from unstable energy after being summoned. So Rimuru becomes a teacher and saves them by giving them each a high-level spirit to stabilize their energies. But on his way back, he encounters Shizu's top student, Hinata Sakaguchi, who became a powerful holy knight. Hinata aims to destroy Rimuru because she was misinformed by another reincarnated guy named Yuki that Rimuru was the one who killed Shizu. This was the first time Rimuru was actually in a pinch. It was never a fair fight to begin with, because she rendered Rimuru's magic useless by using an anti-magic barrier and then overwhelmed him with overpowered sword techniques. Out of desperation, Rimuru unlocked his most powerful form yet, the Chimera form, which is basically a monstrous fusion of all the beasts he's consumed so far in his journey. To destroy him, Hinata activates an ultimate holy magic spell called Disintegration, which seemingly destroys Rimuru on an atomic level. Luckily, the slime managed to survive by making a clone to take the blast before escaping the scene. Rimuru was lucky to survive the deadly blast from Hinata, but he faced an even more traumatic twist right afterwards. When he returned to his kingdom, Rimuru was stunned to find out that his people were attacked by the human kingdom of Falmuth and the Holy Western Church in his absence. To make matters worse, he sees that many of his friends have been unalived by the enemy army, including Shion and Gobzo. As you'd imagine, Rimuru was enraged, and he wanted nothing more than to annihilate the entire Falmuth kingdom for what they did to him. He's stopped by the same adventurers from earlier, led by a girl named Erin. She informs him that he can resurrect his comrades by becoming a true demon lord. To achieve this, Rimuru has to sacrifice 10,000 human souls during a ritual called the Harvest Festival. Luckily for him, 20,000 Falmuth soldiers were nearby and preparing to invade his nation once again to finish off the rest of his people. So without wasting any time, Rimuru heads over to their camp to destroy them. He then activated a powerful water magic spell he invented, named Megiddo. This annihilated the soldiers one by one by reflecting concentrated beams of light, which pierced them each fatally. After destroying up to 10,000 of the Falmuth soldiers, Rimuru gained a new terrifying unique skill called Merciless. This gives him the ability to instantly murder anyone who loses the will to fight. With this ability, he easily destroys the remaining soldiers who were already peeing themselves and running away at this point. Since he successfully harvests 20,000 souls, Rimuru now begins his evolution into a true demon lord. He summons 3 powerful archdemons to handle things and then falls into a deep sleep. During this slumber, Rimuru's body is remodeled into a demon slime, which has way more magical capabilities than his previous form. As a result of this, all of his resistances and elemental skills evolve, and he essentially becomes immune to all forms of damage, including physical attacks, magic attacks, and even holy attacks. As if that weren't crazy enough, his unique skills evolve into intimate skills after consuming each other. Great Sage devoured the Degenerate skill to become Wisdom King Raphael. This skill can do things that are beyond Great Sage's capabilities. For starters, it can now fully take over Rimuru's body and use his powers while he's unconscious. Since the Demon Lord Ascension left Rimuru unconscious for 3 days, Raphael took charge of things and resurrected all his deceased comrades using magic. Also, Raphael can now teach Rimuru any skill that he wants because it has authority over all knowledge in the world. Meanwhile, Gluttony consumed the Merciless skill to create an ultimate skill called Beelzebub. This took Rimuru's consumption ability to a whole new level, as he no longer has limits. He can now go across space and time to consume anything he wants. We are at Kirby level now, folks. Using Beelzebub, Rimuru finally consumed the Infinity Prison and freed Veldora. But even this accomplishment gives Rimuru another ultimate skill, called Uriel. This is basically an absolute defense skill that allows Rimuru to engage any skill related to the laws of the universe. But this isn't the only skill he gained by freeing Veldora. He also unlocked an ultimate skill called Storm Dragon Veldora. This basically allows him to summon Veldora at any time and any place like a personal Pokemon. Skills aren't the only thing Rimuru gained by becoming a Demon Lord. He also added a powerful primordial demon into his ranks, which he named Diablo. Similar to primordial dragons, primordial demons are super rare and powerful beings, and the strongest Demon Lord, Guy Crimson, is literally one of them. So this gives Rimuru another crazy advantage in his future battles. Since he's now become a Demon Lord, Rimuru finally decides to settle things with his arch nemesis, the Demon Lord Claymon. During a meeting between all 10 Demon Lords, Rimuru exposes all of Claymon's evil doings to everyone. Meanwhile, his squad destroys all of Claymon's minions. Realizing that he's cooked, Claymon transforms into his ultimate form to face Rimuru. But our glorious Slime King packs him up in minutes and consumes him. But the battles don't end there for Rimuru. Shortly after these events, Hinata Sakaguchi is manipulated by a group known as the 7 Days Clergy into challenging Rimuru to a duel. The fight ends in a draw after Hinata's ultimate attack, Melt Slash, is absorbed by Rimuru's Beelzebub, and they acknowledge each other's strength. However, the 7 Days Clergy decides to take matters into their own hands by firing a fatal attack at Rimuru. But Hinata takes a blast herself to protect him. Luckily, Demon Lord Luminous Valentine arrives and saves Hinata's life. She also destroys the 7 Days Clergy as well. This leads to a truce between the Jura Tempest Federation and the Holy Empire of Lubelius, and as a gesture of goodwill, Luminous teaches Rimuru a skill called the Secret Art of Faith and Grace. This allows Rimuru and his monsters to use holy magic, which was their major weakness beforehand. Since the 7 Clergy are now defeated, the Eastern Empire launched a full-blown invasion on the Jura Tempest Federation. This was led by 2 true dragons, Veldora and his older sister, Velgrind, the Scorched Dragon, who have both now been brainwashed. Rimuru engaged in battle against them, but even he can't defeat 2 true dragons himself. To even the odds, Rimuru gave his ultimate skill, Wisdom King Raphael, the name Seal. This basically made her a powerful being of her own, capable of fighting alongside him. This also granted Rimuru the ability to see the future by accelerating his thoughts hundreds of millions of times over. Yet even with all these insane abilities, Rimuru still couldn't match the power of the true dragon siblings. So Seal helped him evolve into an ultimate slime, which is his own version of a true dragon. Using this overpowered form, Rimuru defeated Velgrind and absorbed her into his body. This granted him the authority of yet another true dragon, meaning he can now summon Velgrind at will, the same way he does for Veldora. He's walking around with Dialga and Palkia in his back pocket now. I know, right? Crazy! But it gets even crazier, because Seal merged the two True Dragon skills with Raphael and Beelzebub to create a vastly superior ultimate skill, called Void God Azatoth. This ability basically makes Rimuru a god, as he can now manipulate time and space, and consume beings in a whole different universe. Soon after defeating the two dragons, Rimuru faced Michael. He is a digital being that has complete access to a world where time doesn't exist, almost like his own personal domain expansion. Since Michael is infinitely faster than him in this domain, he trapped Rimuru there and made him vulnerable. But Chloe from the future arrives and saves Rimuru. Apparently, she's a digital lifeform too. So Seal analyzes her to turn Rimuru into a digital being as well. In this form, Rimuru is able to move at infinite speeds and transcend the laws of physics, time, and space. He can also directly alter, rewrite, or erase the information particles that make up all matter and energy in the universe. In this form, he defeated Michael and gained access to all 14 angelic skills. This gave him a portion of the true authority over the universe of Tensura. The true mastermind behind these attacks was the leader of the primordial angels, Feldway. After Michael's defeat, Feldway realized that Rimuru was too powerful to face head-on, so he activated a special temporal spell, which sent Rimuru to the world of the End, a space where time doesn't flow and nothing exists. While trapped in this dead timeline, Seal spends countless years analyzing data. It takes a while, but she finally becomes capable of teaching Rimuru a supreme skill, called Nihility Collapse. This was the skill the creator god Veldanava used in creating the Tensura multiverse. With Nihility Collapse, Rimuru can completely erase universes, or create new ones however he pleases. He is beyond the Omni King. Using this power, Rimuru easily escaped the dead timeline and returned to his world. After defeating Feldway, Rimuru now had to fight the most powerful being in the entire multiverse. The creator god Veldanava had fused with his alter ego, the World Destroyer, Evil Rage, into a single supreme being, capable of rewriting laws and existence itself. But Rimuru was so determined to protect his friends that he unleashed an ultimate attack called Void Collapse Devouring Sword, which bypassed their ultimate defense. After absorbing them, Rimuru evolved into a being called the Star Dragon King, and essentially became the god of the Tensura multiverse. He achieved absolute omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. His imaginary space holds enough null energy to create or erase tens of thousands of multiverses. So yeah, by the end of the series, Rimuru Tempest is an unbelievably overpowered god. No exaggeration. I think we can all agree that Goku wouldn't stand a chance. Let us know at what point Rimuru became stronger than your favorite anime character. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.